Welcome to Chapter 14, Faith in God and Knowledge of Jelly Beans. This is a chapter about faith, belief, knowledge, probability, and certainty. Oh, it's about to get deep. Grab your rubber ducks and a cup of coffee, kids. I'm still on decaf, I'm telling you. It's an experiment. We're going to see what happens. One alert reader had sent me a lovely color-coded chart which tries to explain that there are different kinds of atheists. Those that claim that God does not exist, and those who do not claim that God does not exist. This confused me because it combines agnostic and atheist into a single idea, which, from what I could tell, means a person who doesn't believe that God exists, but doesn't claim that it's true that God doesn't exist. Or maybe they know God doesn't exist, but they don't claim to believe it? Like I said, it's confusing. At least the chart was in color, so it had that going for it. How can you claim to know something you don't believe? And how can you believe something you don't know? To me, this is like claiming to be a polygamous bachelor. Putting those words together makes both of them meaningless, like square or circle, because they mean opposing things which cannot be made into one. To me, an agnostic atheist would be someone whose position on the existence of God would be, I don't have enough information to know if God doesn't exist, but he doesn't. Which, now that I think of it, is the position I've been presented with by quite a few people. These are the people who say things like, I didn't read your article, so I don't know what your position is, but here's why you're wrong. I've actually gotten that response in the past. I wonder about the person writing that and how they don't stop and say, maybe I should lie and pretend I read it. The same alert reader who sent me the chart sent me a video to watch that he felt explained how my views of knowledge and belief were incorrect. I had sent him to my blog post, the chapter Brain Fat and the Metaphysical Nickel, wherein I define the terms, to believe is to have confidence and faith in the truthfulness of information one can recall and understand. To know is to be able to recall and understand that which is believed to be true. The video he sent me argued that knowledge was a subset of belief, meaning that we believe a lot more things than we would say we know. The example was given of that of a jar of jelly beans. I said that wrong. Let me do it again. The example given was that of a jar of jelly beans. I'm a professional. The number of beans in the jar is either even or odd. The default position for anyone considering this must be what they call neutral, or what I would say as undetermined. You got a 50-50 chance of guessing right, but no way of knowing for sure. Thus, the video man said, if you decide the number of jelly beans is even, you have chosen to believe something which you do not know. You have to admit, it's pretty clever. And it makes you think about eating jelly beans, which is distracting, but not unpleasant. So all day I tried to find some time to find the flaw in the reasoning because already having written such a brilliant article with such a catchy name, I wasn't ready to let it go. Also, I could hear a logical flaw like a guitar string out of tune, but I couldn't find it right away. Like I said, it's clever. Jelly beans, right? So what about the jelly beans? Picking even as your chosen belief about the number of jelly beans is not what I'm calling belief because it does not have faith in something known. It is you choosing an option which you feel plausible. This is not an actual belief because it's not based on any knowledge, but rather an arbitrary choice made by comparing statistical likelihoods. You wouldn't say you believe the number is even, you would say you believe it might be. You've merely picked a side because you don't know anything to sway the odds in one direction or the other. When the video man said we believe more than we know, I understand where he's coming from, though I would say we believe more to be logically plausible than we know with reason or certainty to be true. Difference might seem slight, but it's actually fairly important. Whereas he is saying, I can believe the number of jelly beans is even or odd arbitrarily, thus I can believe something I don't know. He should say, I don't believe the number is even, but I know the number is just as likely to be even as odd, thus I believe my choice is reasonable as it is just as likely to be true as the other option, even though I don't know the number. I think you can see why people don't talk like that, though. It would take all day to get anything said. But the number of jelly beans is even? Plausible. I don't believe it, or I don't know enough to have faith that it is true, so the actual number of jelly beans, I'm an agnostic. but I know my odds of being right are as good as they can be given my knowledge, thus my arbitrary choice, which I have no faith in, is plausible. But am I putting faith in what I don't know? No, I'm putting faith in what I do know. Specifically, I am putting faith in the fact that there are only two possible options, and either one has a 50% chance of being right. I know that my choice is plausible. I believe it might be even, not that it is, and I know that I cannot have made a better choice with the information I have. And so I believe I have chosen as well as I can while accepting the fact that my choice may be wrong. The video man was confused as to what the object of faith or what I was choosing to believe. He felt it was the random choice of even over odd, but it was not. It was in my knowledge of math, being that the only two options are even or odd, and thus either choice was as good a choice as could be made with my limited information. In this situation, I could not be atheistic toward either choice. Otherwise, I would know the correct choice as well, since there are only two. With no knowledge about the number of beans, I can merely be agnostic. If you say the number is odd, I cannot say, busted, unless I know the number is in fact even. I can only say it is plausible. If a person in your position were to make the statement that they know the number of beans is even, they would be misusing the word know. They would mean that they have chosen to profess that as a fact, but they are stubbornly pretending it is knowledge when it is not. This differs very much from the knowledge they have of other facts, such as the fact that they are seeing a jar with jelly beans in it, or that the number must be even or odd. Those facts that can truly say they know, oh, that's why, it's because there's a typo. Those are facts they can truly say they know. However, with no information about the actual number, they cannot truly say they know the number to be even or odd. Similarly, if I were to ask you if you believe the jar was full of jelly beans, you would probably look at the jar, trust your sense of sight and the reality of the external world, and say, yes, you believe there is a jar of jelly beans. Why? Because you know it's there, you can see it. If I asked you if you believe that the beans all taste like dog food, you would probably say, no. You think they do? And maybe I would say, no, of course not. They're probably regular fruit-flavored jelly beans. Now, do you believe they all taste like dog food? And again, you would say no. With no evidence or reason, you would not believe something like that to be true. Of course, your bratty little brother, who your mother forced you to bring to the candy store, thinks he's funny, so he's like, I believe they all taste like dog food. Against your better judgment, you ask him why, and he replies, because I know the jelly beans made this year have been dog food flavored. Because his lips are moving, you know he's lying. So here is the video man taking people's word for it when they say they know things they do not know or believe things which they cannot believe. People say all kinds of crazy things, especially your little brother. That kid is out there. Thus, I conclude that my definitions hold, and one cannot know without believing, and one cannot believe without knowing. One may say they believe something they don't know, but it is not what they actually mean. If you ask them, they will usually admit to that. To extend the metaphor, suppose I know the person who owns the jar. They tell me, I dumped 1 pound of jelly beans into that jar, and 1 pound is exactly 200 beans. Now, I will have more confidence in the choice of even. If I know this person to be honest, meticulous, and possessing a keen eye for details, I will believe him. Thus, if you ask me if I know whether the number of beans in the jar is even, I will say confirmed, because I know that the Candyman can be trusted. His word is good. The takeaway is simple. This type of internet atheist tries to find loopholes for himself so he can claim to be an atheist and make a regular video series explaining why Christians are irrational, and then claim that he himself is rational, even though his atheism has no evidence or arguments in its favor. He can believe there is no God without having any known facts to back it up. This same guy who made the jar of jelly beans video was once asked by a caller what evidence or arguments he had to support his atheism, and the video man simply laughed and said he didn't need any. He and his co-host then talked about this for several minutes, and it all comes down to trying to give themselves loopholes to avoid rational thought and the burden of proof. In short, they will claim to be agnostic atheists because their position is, I don't have enough information to know if God exists, but he doesn't, and you're irrational if you think he does. But of course, while they say that and act like it's true, they don't really believe it because they know better. Even your weird little brother knows that God is there, no matter what he might say. That kid is out there.
Jesus loves you is the message we send. Thanks for letting me be your renter friend. You're listening to Renter Friend Radio.